Hey, it's Diamond here, your host of the Creative Women Wanted podcast. This podcast is for creative women who are in a spiritual pursuit of creating art. It is me. I am one of the women that is on a spiritual journey, spiritual pursuit of creating art and making a life out of art, just having more art in my life and creating more art. And today we're talking about metrics of success and how I'm redefining that. This is something that my therapist and I have talked about for years over and over again. And I think that in this season of my life, it's really starting to resonate. Because that's the thing about therapy, right? Like my therapist will tell me things. She has to tell me things over and over again for me to sometimes really get it. And I appreciate her patience and grace because it happens. Things are going to learnings and revelations. They're going to resonate in different seasons of our life, right? And so for me in this season, really redefining my metrics of success as measurements of alignment is exactly what I need. Historically, I think, the first thing that I'm having to redefine and unsubscribe from that I used to really determine as a metric of success is numbers, right? Like attaching myself to a certain number. In elementary school, it's getting the highest grade. It's being number one in the class. As we get older, it's the points on the board, right? How many points does somebody have versus how many points do I have? And then as we get into college and as we get into social media, it's how many followers do I have? How many likes do I have? How engaged are people? How many YouTube subscribers do I have? How many newsletter subscribers do I have? As somebody with an eating disorder, the number that I was attached to was how much do I weigh? How many times have I eaten today? How many calories have I eaten today? How much sugar have I eaten today? Right? Like everything was about numbers. And I get it. Like numbers are very valuable at times. They do tell us certain things that we need to know. They are good indicators, right? Especially when it comes to our health and wellness. There are certain numbers that we have to hit, right? I got to make sure my vitamin D is above a 30, right? Like there are certain things that matter. It is nice to know how many podcast subscribers I have, but I have to release it as a metric of success. Like it cannot determine my level of success anymore. It has done that for quite some time to the point where, if I didn't hit a certain number, I would be crying, questioning the entire vision that God has for me. I'm like, okay, oh my God, I didn't hit this. Now what? Now am I really going to be able to like make a life for myself? Now am I really going to be able to create like a life out of art? Now am I really going to be able to like have children one day? Am I really going to be able to buy a house one day? Like I will start to question everything. And it really sent me into a spiral of doubt and fear. It did that often. And most recently, when I decided to talk about it again in therapy, I was like, I'm tired of this feeling because it takes the joy out of creating. It takes the joy out of like putting something out and sharing it with people. I gotta release that. So my therapist, she reminds me of like Tabitha Brown's story because like I said, if I didn't hit a certain metric, I would just start to doubt the entire path. If I didn't hit a certain number, I would start to doubt the entire path. And my therapist reminds me that like of Tabitha Brown's story, sometimes we just don't know how things will turn out for us. And I think sometimes the numbers are also tied to this idea of making it. And it's like, what does that even mean? I really have to realize that like, this is not in my control. And I think for a long time, like I believed it did, but at 34, I have enough hindsight to look back and be like, we got to trust for something different at this point, right? Like we have to really put this all into God's hands and really trust that the path that he lays out for us will be the best path no matter what. Because like I said, I'll attach my goals to certain numbers that are genuinely beyond what I can control. And because I can't control it, sometimes it makes me feel like I'm out of control of everything. And it just sends me, like I said, into a spiral of doubt. And when I'm paying attention to this certain number and the fact that I didn't hit it, it's like I forget what else has happened along the way. Like the fact that I even did it. Like I at some point I was valuing the outcome more than I was valuing the courage it took for me to actually do the thing. Right? More than I was valuing the willingness to do this, like the idea, the fact that I executed, right? The fact that I reached out to people, the fact that I came up with this logo, or the fact that like I just was devaluing the journey and valuing more of the outcome. And that's not fair to myself. That's not fair to life. That's really not fair to God, because it really is about the journey and the process, which is something I'm learning. Like I'm really in a season of life where I'm asking God to help me enjoy the process more than I have expectations for the outcome. Like I think it's okay to have this desire, to have these wants, but I was so attached to it. I was so attached to these outcomes I wanted that I really was not enjoying the journey. And being here in Dallas has taught me that, right? I had a lot of downtime being here in Dallas, but now that I've launched Channel 9, I'm doing more work, like more actual work. And I'm having to really practice what I was learning, which is to enjoy the process, to enjoy the moment, to enjoy being present, because that is what life is about. I'm going to remember more all that it took to actually do the thing more than I remember the outcome. Now, while I do value the outcome, it makes me excited for people to experience the work, the community, the art. It absolutely makes me excited. And I'm thankful for those things. Those things are also very much out of my control. And I just cannot attach my joy and meaning to those outcomes. So when it comes to a metric of success, it used to be numbers, right? Like, so I was attached to numbers. The other metric of success that I was attached to was corporate validation. Man, listen, since I've been in this industry, I have been, I was really focused on logos, like what brands could I work with? And I was attached to like getting a deal with a network. And I think when I first started out, I wasn't so attached, right? When I was on YouTube, I just wanted to create. I had so many Black women that I was in community with, and I was really just making videos for them. I was making videos for Dominique, my friend Dominique. I was making videos for my friend Danielle. I was making videos for my best friend Fatiana. I was making videos for my girl Jasmine. Like I was just making videos for them. And, they don't necessarily know that. But when I thought about who I was making videos for, I would always think about them because they were my community. They were part of my community at the time. And then as I got into the industry, I got on Chris Lee Knows Best. And then it's like, okay, now I'm around all these people who are, have worked on the Kardashians and who have worked with NBC and who found the Chris Lees and who work with USA directly. I'm like, okay, this is cool, right? Like these people are working for all these different networks. Okay, I need to get to my next thing. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm working with Patrice Washington, who works with this person. And now I'm working with, what was my next show after that? Now I'm working with Carlos King, who works with it. I mean, like, it was so cool. I really admire these people and it was genuine. It was also like, oh my God, now I have this VH1 credit. Now I have this, what is it? this WeTV credit. Now I have this TV1 credit. Like it all meant so much to me. And then I got my Oprah Winfrey Network credit. Honey, you couldn't tell me nothing. I valued those things so much. And it was to the point of my, like I was also unhealthy at the time. I wasn't taking care of myself. My eating disorder at the time was getting worse, but I had the logos, right? Because that's what I valued at the time was corporate validation. And even as I started my production company in Atlanta, like it was, what brands can I work with? Like I was working with The Chamber. I was working with A3C. I worked with Delta. I got to work with, The Gathering Spot. I mean, it was so many like different CEOs that I got to film. I ended up working with Essence. It was all about corporate validation, and it felt so good, right? It felt so good that Google would choose Third and Wonder Productions to work with us. Like, it does mean a lot. What happens when those things are no longer happening anymore? Am I no longer valuable? right? Do I no longer have that validation? And that's what LA showed me, right? Because when I went to LA, I hadn't really worked on network shows in a long time. And I remember being at this networking event, and everybody was talking about, oh my God, yeah, I work on The Masked Singer, and yes, I'm head of this and this at Warner Brothers, and yeah, I do this for Paramount. I mean, yeah, I work here. It was so many labels and brands and networks dropped, and I'm like, even though I'm a documentary filmmaker at the time, I'm unscripted, I have a production company. I'm like, yeah, I'm a brand producer, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I said that because that's where I held my most valuable, because of all the brands that I had worked with. Like, it wasn't enough to have created my own series, Biz Bestie Showdown. That didn't feel like it meant enough because it didn't live on a network. Like, I was so lost in the corporate validation that I was devaluing the other work that I had done for Black women, the other work that actually meant the most to me, which is the docuseries I've done, which is the fact that I had started a podcast talking to Black women creatives, which is the fact that I created this competition show, that I have a production company that hires Black women. I mean, I really made myself small to fit in this corporate validation, corporate alignment box. And it's like, man, this year when I really thought about what brought me joy, because all of those things at the end of the day, like, I was so happy to do them, but I was constantly chasing the next logo and only had joy for a moment. And it's like, I want joy to be the foundation of my life. So what does that look like? What is the work that I want to do? Or if I think about the work that I want to do and I think about what will bring me joy, how can I bring those two things together? When in reality, I mean, the work that I want to do actually does bring me joy. So how can I have more of that instead of chasing the brands? And I'm telling you, it's very exciting. I feel so thankful for every brand and network, every woman, every human that has trusted me to direct their content or produce their content. I'm really thankful for it. I think that at the same time, I let that determine how valuable I was in the work that I do. Corporate validation was definitely, or corporate logos and brands was definitely a metric of success for me. It felt really good. Also, it was like, I was aiming to work, to get a television deal with Netflix, with the Oprah Winfrey Network. I was so determined. And it was like, if I didn't have that, if I didn't achieve that, then like I didn't meet my goals. And it's like, I would just, again, discredit the journey, discredit the fact that Sydney and I, and we traveled with the dogs across the country for 30 days, and we got to spend 2 weeks in Texas, and we went to Santa Fe, and we took pictures, and we walked our dogs in Albuquerque, and we went to the museum in Albuquerque, and we went, like, I just was discrediting like all of the journey. It's like, I remembered it. We have great memories of it. But when I wasn't reaching these goals that were like attached to someone else's validation, it wasn't enough. And I want my life and every day and how I live it to feel like enough. I really don't want to be chasing things. Like, I want to just enjoy what it is I get to do every day. And I want to enjoy living, right? I feel like I was existing to achieve something all the time. And it's like, living is enough. Like being on this earth is enough to be happy about. Like, I feel like I've just said a lot, okay? But I want to get into, how I'm moving forward, because those things, those metrics of success that I've had for myself in the past have really, I've let them make me doubt myself and my ability and my talent and my creativity and my faith. And now I'm pivoting, and this is something that's super new, so I'm working on it. I'll report back. But now I want to use the term measurements of alignment. That's how I want to measure out the quality of my life and the quality of my career. It has to be based on these measurements of alignment, which is one, how much time am I spending in art and creating art? Because that's really what I want to do. I'm an artist. My grandmother was an artist. The fact that we used to paint together side by side on an easel, I just value that so much right now, like more than I did in the moment. I'm thankful for that. Like I my measurement of alignment is like I want to make sure that my life is aligned with art, creating art, being in art, experiencing art, engaging with art. Like how much time am I spending there? That's what is going to define success for me now. When really I'm going to remove the word success. I want to, and I want to focus on alignment. And I feel aligned when I'm in art. Watching the Beyonce film, watching the MJ musical last week. Me and my mom went to a comedy stand-up last week, watching really good television shows, watching really good interviews and documentaries, like talking to my friends about art. Like I want to spend more time in art. That is going to be how I determine if my life is in alignment or not. That's one way I'm going to determine it. The second way I'm determining my alignment is how do I feel in my body? Because I've had food allergies. I have a lot of challenges there. And it's like, how do I feel in my body? Right. And I've been feeling amazing lately. I'm taking my vitamins. I've been sleeping well. When I first got my food allergies and I was abiding by them, I turned to a high fat diet. And so that was affecting me too. And so I'm on a low fat diet now. I'm trying different foods. I'm feeling really, really good in my body. So I feel aligned, right? So life is good. Like life is good. I can use that as a metric of alignment, right? Like how do I feel in my body? Am I spending time in art and creating art? And sorry, I'm looking at my notes. And am I spending time in community with folks, whether it's online or in real life? And am I spending quality time with Sydney? Am I spending quality time with my mom? Am I spending quality time with my cousin? Like, am I going out? Like, am I calling my friends? Am I calling the people in my life? Like, am I even commenting and sharing people's work and engaging with people online? Like, am I spending time in community with folks? Because it's something that I need and something I desire. It's a reason why I created Channel 9, right? Is to create community around art, right? Art and community, listen, I'm telling you, I'm fully like, that's where I'm trying to exist in this season of my life moving forward. And, my therapist tells me to continue to speak more life into my desires, right? And, but just like release it all to God too. I have to trust him more than I have. Like, I think I've always trusted God for what I wanted, right? Instead of trusting him for what he wants for me. Like I'm always like, yes, God, give me this. I want this. You know what I'm saying? You gave me the vision, but I have to trust that too, right? That the vision he gave me, he will play out. I don't know the how. I'm always trusting God for my how when I need to trust God for his how. I'm always like questioning myself at the end of these episodes because I'm like, okay, does this make sense? I hope it makes sense. I'm about to hop on to a meeting. Thank y'all so much for joining. Oh man, I'm just so thankful for this space to be vulnerable with you. I'm learning. We're redoing some things. We're changing our mindset. We're practicing new beliefs. And as I've said in this episode, I'm not measuring success a certain way anymore. I want to measure my alignment. Okay. Which is, how do I feel in my body? Am I creating art? And am I in community? Thank y'all so much. I appreciate you. I'll be back. Make sure you like, subscribe, rate, and review. Talk to you soon.